We're going to go and rank all past and present GMs because I get asked this all the time. And I was like, dude, this would actually be a really cool discussion to see kind of where everybody lands on these. Some I find harder than others where people are like, oh, that one's not that bad. We'll have to figure out how we rate the corrupted because there was a cheese that was found that made it significantly easier. So I think we're going to evaluate it without the cheese in case it gets patched. I almost feel like we need a reference point in the Yikes or Tough tier to then rank the rest of them. Let's use Disgraced as a reference point. So for me, this is my opinion. I want to clarify because everybody was literally bald. I almost made this one balding accelerant tier. Personally, for me, I think Disgraced falls into the average tier. And I'm going to put one more reference point before we start going from left to right, so we kind of have something to work off of. I think for me, Strange Terrain would fall into the tough category and Disgraced would be like a tier below that because Strange Terrain was really short. And it was pretty easy up until like the final rotation of the ogre room, and the boss room could cause people a lot of issues. Strange Terrain was only annoying because it was health gated. Basically, you had to play cover and the modifiers were brutal because it was increased solar damage and the boss only did solar. Disgrace, I didn't feel like was as bad. The biggest mistake people made was over damaging the boss. And so what would happen is instead of like knowing where you needed to rotate based on each like section of damage, because Omnigul's health is, or Navota's health is split into 3 bars. And when you would damage, essentially what would happen on the first third is she would teleport up to the bridge. And if you were out of position, she could kill you really, really easily. But if you were ready to go, a bunch of ads would spawn to the left of the boss under the bridge and you could spawn trap them, which made it super easy. The opening room for Disgraced was annoying, how you had to like funnel through that one doorway and then you had the invis dudes that rushed you. But like Warmind cells were so good in this Nightfall. The only other part that was annoying before the boss room was when you had to fight the barrier knights sitting on the platforms and they would fall off. You could burn through ammo pretty fast. Broodhold, I'm gonna put a tier below Disgraced. I think Broodhold was pretty simple. If you had the boss bake down, overall the strike was super straightforward. They give you a lot of space to work for the most part. The only time it became a yikes is if you didn't bake the boss. Exodus Crash. All right, so I don't think it's in brutal tier, so I'm gonna put this one in yikes. First time this was around, it was actually extremely annoying because there were also wanted enemies in certain portions of the Nightfall. I don't think it's yikes, actually. I think it's tough. The only reason I do think this one is harder, so I think within each tier we're gonna rank them basically, so the one that's furthest to the left is the hardest in the category, and then the ones descending to the right of that are slightly easier. So I think within the tough category, Exodus Crash was the hardest one. The only reason being is because you were locked to a very specific team comp that if you didn't run, it was almost impossible in the boss room. Fallen Saber's up next. I think Fallen Saber goes into average as well. Definitely harder than Broodhold. Barriers and unstops again in Broodhold. You have overloads here. Do you guys think it's harder or easier than Disgrace though? I think Saber, it took a while for people to figure out the Warsat portion. That room where you get funneled in and there's the 2 overload champions and all the invis dudes. I'd say harder, little harder. I think it's a little harder too. I think I'm gonna put Lake of Shadows and Yikes only because taken enemy. No, I'm just kidding. Lake of Shadows is definitely farmable. If you guys have run this, I think I have like 150 clears of this GM and we were doing like sub 8-minute runs. We could definitely optimize that like way more. All right, so yeah, Lake is farmable. I don't think I really need to explain that one. Proving Grounds, some of you guys are going to say it belongs in Brutal. I don't agree. I think there are GMs that are much more punishing. I think Proving Grounds is a yikes. I don't think it's in Brutal category. The only reason being, once you learn the boss rotation and how you can bait champions, this GM becomes much, much more achievable. The tank room is pretty rough, but once you learn the cadence of the tank room even and where to go, where to play, the supers to use, it becomes pretty simple. With 2 banners, it's pretty free. Polish says tough. Yikes is good. I'd say it's a yike. The highest of the tough ones. Okay, we have 18-6 on yike. I'm probably going to leave it on yike. It'll probably be right at the bottom of that tier though. Arms Dealer. I do think Arms Dealer is a little, I don't know. know, actually. I think it's farmable as well. It's super, I mean, dude, this is the one that people are farming. If you had to choose between the two, though, Lake of Shadows is definitely the easier of the two, I think, because you can literally just spin to win on the boss and he dies in like 10 seconds. So def farmable, but Lake is easier. I agree. Yeah. Honestly, I think Lake might be a little bit harder than Arms Dealer. I'm gonna be honest. We had it so easy with armaments, bro. You were full on sword ammo 24/7. There's no like point in Arms Dealer where I'm like, wow, this is tough. I don't know, dude. I'm so torn. I feel like people farmed way more on Lake, but I also think it's just more of a fun strike to farm than Arms Dealer is personally. Which is more challenging? Lake of Shadows won 24-17. Chat coming in with the vote. So we're gonna put Lake of Shadows above Arms Dealer. Corrupted. For those of you who aren't aware, there's a cheese and I can actually pull it up. It is 100% in the brutal category. Even with the boss melt, if you fuck that up, you were in serious trouble. The one thing about Corrupted is every single portion of that GM was like relatively annoying. The elevator is annoying, where you have to like control the waves of ads and the spinning taken blights in the center. You have the different realms between the taken realm and the real world realm and all of the champions, and it's a very long GM. Plus you had to manage bringing a ball with you all the way through from the elevator all the way to the boss room. The drop down was sketchy because of the spinning blights. I had to literally direct people to the millimeter where to drop down so they didn't die and instantly die, and then we can't res them because I can't make it to the boss room. Even just the lead up to the boss room was a yikes, because I think there's 2 overloads in there. There's an unstop in there. There's rocks. There's snipers. Like there's all sorts of crazy shit. Devil's Lair. This one I'm kind of torn on, honestly, because there are parts of Devil's Lair that are a little annoying. Not gonna lie. I personally think it's like the easiest one in the average category. You can make an argument that it's in the easy category, but I feel like Broodhold's just way more free. The spider tank thing alone with all the snipers is annoying as fuck. And then the part where you have to use your ghost and capture the 3 waves also has potential to just be annoying. But honestly, it's literally just that spider tank encounter is so frustrating. I think it's the easiest one on average. I think it's, I don't know, dude. It might even be a little bit more difficult than Disgraced. I don't think Disgraced is hard. I don't find Hive hard to fight, really. You guys think Devil's Lair is harder than Disgraced? I personally do. I think Devil's Lair is a little harder than Disgraced. Disgraced is pretty straightforward. Next one, Glassway. I'm gonna put it as brutal behind Corrupted personally. Dude, it could go either way. If you're using the boss cheese, Corrupted is easily easier. If there is no boss cheese and that gets patched, just straight up difficulty, Corrupted is by far the hardest. Glassway tough? Hardest GM in the game, hands down. You think Glassway is harder than Corrupted? Tough at best? Hello? You be capping, dude. Glassway is less chaotic. I don't agree with that at all. All right, so Glassway ended up in brutal tier. Okay, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Inside Terminus. Oh, dude, this one's I don't know where to put this one. I think it's a little harder than average. I'm gonna put it at the easiest on tough tier. How do you guys feel about that? I say tough for the plates only. If you guys know how to do the blinding nade strat that I have in my guide, it's not bad, but I feel like that's a good spot for it. All right, so everybody seems to agree with that. Terminus harder than Strange Strain? No way, dude. The boss room in Strange Strain was a pain in the ass. So was the ogre room. The boss room here, once you get the idea down of like how it works, you can pretty much finesse ads pretty easily. I think that's a good spot for insight. All right, Inverted Spire, I think goes farmable. Where to put it though? Do you think Inverted Spire is easy or farmable, chat? Easy, definitely easy. The bottom of easy. Okay, you guys are pretty convincingly on the easy side. I would agree with that. Honestly, I do think this one is farmable, but you could die on the head glitch. So like if you didn't nuke the boss at the top, which you usually wouldn't, you actually wanted to like damage gate him a little bit, like pace your damage a little. You basically wanted to do a third of the damage per floor, so a third on the top floor, a third on the second floor, and then just nuke the boss at the bottom, which was pretty free. But when you were on the head glitch on the second floor, sometimes he could be a pain in the ass and either wouldn't be looking at you or like he would randomly turn and like one shot you. So there was some that could go wrong, but it's easy, but it's too long to farm. I mean, that is true. Yeah. All right, we'll leave that one there. I think everybody's like pretty much agreed with that. Scarlett Keep. Yikes, no question, only because of the boss room. Yeah, Mercury, I could see that. Tough to Yikes. Scarlett Keep is at least a Yikes. I personally think Scarlett Keep's on the same. I think it's in Yikes, but easier than Proving Grounds. So here's the thing. I come at this at an angle of doing helps on a lot of these and seeing players of like a very wide band of skill. I can do doubles on Proving Ground. I could not do doubles on Glassway. I could only do singles with the legit boss room, and even then you'd probably wipe like 50% of the time. Proving Grounds doubles, Scarlett Keep, I did like a few double helps, but they were absolute dire situations. Like I was in a corner invis and had to buy time and res both teammates, and it was like a 10-minute ordeal just to stay alive and save the run. The thing with Scarlett Keep is if someone's not paying attention and you over damage the boss, it creates absolute fucking chaos because you get multiple waves of ads spawning around you at the same time. So if you pace your damage and the damage gates are very, very small, it's not that bad, but there's a lot of room for error for shit to just go wrong very fast because it's such a small boss room. Defo a Yikes, no higher. Yeah, I think it's easier than Proving Grounds for sure. It's definitely like in the top 5 hardest GMs, but it's on a different level in my opinion than Exodus, Strange Strain, or Insight. But I don't think it's as hard as Proving Grounds. Warden of Nothing. Warden of Nothing, chat. What do you guys think? Tough for sure. Average to tough. Meh. High tier tough. Farmable. I could see that. I don't think it's it's not like a Shadow or Arm Dealer. I also think it's harder than Inverted or Broodhold. Easy at max. I'm gonna put, honestly, I don't know, dude. Behind Saber. That's kind of where I was thinking. Although, dude, honestly, I find like the Tank Room and Devil's Lair to be more annoying than Warden. I think Warden's average for sure. Harder than Insight. It is by far the second hardest this season to me. Warden? Really? Warden's easy? I think it's easier than Saber, bro. Dude, this one is controversial for sure. This is my personal opinion. I'm gonna leave it here. Dude, I literally almost think it's easier than Disgraced, but I think it's like a step up from Broodhold and Inverted personally. I think Disgraced is more annoying than Warden. I don't think it's in the same tier as these two because these two were pretty free, but I do think it's like the easiest of the bunch. Or you think Disgraced is easier? I think Warden and Disgraced are equal. I would agree. Okay, I'll leave it there. You guys seemed good with this spot. Garden World. What about Garden World, bro? Top of tough. Yikes. Brutal. I'd say tough. Brutal. Brutal. Yikes. We definitely need a poll for this one, Mutz. Dude, I almost think it's at the bottom of brutal, personally. Like, especially for doing helps. I did doubles on these regularly, but we definitely had wipes in the boss room. I will say, if there was a GM that struck fear into people, and when helps, like, really started popping off on my channel, Garden World was easily the one that got redeemed or needed to be run by the end of the season. It was like literally every other GM I ran was Garden World because everybody needed to do it. They couldn't get it done themselves. Brutal only because you can't use Wendigo in GMs now. Yeah, dude. Baking the boss was really important. So we have 12 for Brutal, 10 for Yikes, 4 for Tough. Make sure you guys vote if you wanna see the opinion changed. So the majority of you said Brutal. So it's literally, I think we're in the right spot, like the top of Yikes or low Brutal. And the other thing that people forget too, some of the corridors were so like razor thin. You'd be walking through these really, really small corridors, these hallways that were like maybe like 5 feet wide. And the anti-barriers in that strike were anti-barrier snipers that would one-shot you if you didn't have double sniper resist. So basically, you were 1v1ing anti-barriers, and if you didn't have your banner shield up, you were pretty much screwed. So what you wanted to do was have your banner shield ready for those really tough choke points. But if you, for some reason, up on the anti-barriers, now you're 1v1ing snipers who can pretty much one-shot you. So yeah, I think Garden World personally for me is low tier Brutal. The next one, Sabbath Dunes Song. This one I really don't know. I feel like Sabbath Dunes was pretty damn easy, to be honest. People struggle with the boss room a little bit, but if you knew what to do, it was not hard. You think it's a Yikes Rise? Really? Y'all think it's tough? Tough to average? Oh man, I thought I was for sure gonna be in the easy boat. Literally my first GM, I didn't break a sweat. Sabbath Dunes is free. Thorn version was harder than GM in my opinion. I can see that. The reason I think Sabbath Dunes is not very difficult, again, is because it's barrier and unstop. The other thing is you could use Wendy to blind the eyes, like the shriekers, to deposit the orb, which made that part free. And the GM, like in general, I think Sabbath Dunes, like one of the most underrated parts of a Grandmaster is it's like how much space do they give you to operate, especially in the boss room. Sabbath Dune boss room was massive, so if you needed to spread out, you could, and you could play different angles. Also, the majority of the unstops were very spaced out and gave you a lot of playing field to like to challenge them, you know. Personally, for me, I don't even think it's on the same level. I think it was way easier than Disgrace. Disgrace was way more compact, had way more champs. All right, Festering Core. Festering Core, the only reason I'm gonna put this where it's going. This one's actually interesting. I don't know, dude. For me, this was actually an easy GM. Although I will say the meta at the time made it like ridiculously easy, and it would probably be harder now because you had oppressive darkness overload grenades, and like literally every fucking shield in this GM is void. And the Taken mods, Taken armaments, and Taken resist, and what's the other one with the where you break the shields? Taken recuperation or whatever the it's called, all existed when this originally was out. I think if this came back, it definitely would be more annoying because Controverse wouldn't be as dominant. The boss room initially was like a little bit challenging. Until you learn the rotation, then it is literally free. The biggest mistake that people made was not killing the Cyclopses because they would just you up. Low average, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Highest easy, I could see that. I might put it in easy. I think I'm gonna put it high easy. It's a little harder than Sabbath Dunes song, but I think Disgraced was more annoying. What's the last one? I can't read it. This is Tree of Probabilities. Tree was super annoying. This was in the first season ever of GMs. For me, dude, Tree was Tree was scary, bro. Tree boss is harder than Proving Grounds boss. I agree with you to a certain extent. That's where people wiped like 99% of the time. Tree was a pain in the ass. Dude, honestly, I'm tempted to... I think people struggle more with Tree than they did with Proving Grounds now. That kind of concludes the conversation around the GM tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed. I thought it'd be a fun stream idea to just kind of chill when there's not too much going on in the game right now. If you guys have any ideas on like future things you would want to see, like other tier lists or just discussion ideas, I'm always open to it, bro.